What is the most dangerous state here in 2024? That is a question people like to talk about all over the internet, all the time. And of course, like any conversation on YouTube or any other corner of the internet, it always has a bunch of comments that go something like this. Look how many red states there were. Look how many blue states there were. Even if the one they're talking about doesn't have a majority, they say it. It's like they don't watch the video, they just have it on copy and then they just paste it all the time. To kill that on this video at least, the stats show that the top 10 are half and half. 5 of each. US News came out with a list about a week ago ranking the most dangerous states. I have to admit, it was a little eye-opening. Since I did this list 2 years ago, things have changed. Michigan and Illinois have fallen completely off the list, while a couple others have come on strong. Now, just because they have a high crime rate, that doesn't mean they're a horrible state. I'll also give you where each of the 10 are ranked overall. And I will have a question towards the end of the video. Answer that to help us out with future videos. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Oregon. Oregon's new to this list. I know it's everyone's punching bag these days because you're being fed everything in the news. That Oregon is this horrible place and stuff. Really, it's not. You have one major city that's in bad shape, which is Portland, where I live. Grants Pass isn't that wonderful, but it doesn't have a lot of people. Eugene's not the greatest, and Salem's not the greatest. Portland, obviously, is the king of all problems here in Oregon. I think one of the major reasons Oregon is new to this list is the fact that we legalized drugs a few years ago that didn't work out like we had hoped it would. I understand why they tried it. Everything else they were doing prior to that wasn't working either, so why not try this to see if it works out? It didn't. And for those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about, we arrest people all the time for drugs here in the United States, and they go to jail. And you, as a taxpayer, are having to pay like $30,000 a year per incarcerated person. And then drug addicts, they just get out and keep doing drugs, and they're back in maybe for a year or two, and guess what? There we are on the hook again, another $30,000, $40,000 a year to keep this guy housed and fed. So why not try treatment or put some of the savings we have towards treatment centers trying to get people off drugs? They tried. Didn't work. Let's move on. Just recently they reversed that, so give it a little time and see if that makes things better. But right now they're at number 10. Oregon's violent crime rate is 342 for every 100,000 residents. Now that's below the national average of 380 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents, but they're still number 10 on the list. Overall, Oregon's ranked 31st in the nation. Number 9, Washington. Now, Washington is a lot like Oregon. They've got one major city that really brings them down. They also have Spokane, which has its fair share of violent crime and any other kind of crime. Just recently, some of the cities in Washington have kind of changed their attitude towards the homeless camping in public areas. They started breaking up some of the camps in the SeaTac area. And earlier today, in one of those camps, some dude got shot. Apparently it's a squabble over a George Foreman grill. Yes, they still make those. I can't imagine a world where a George Foreman grill will drive a man to shooting another man. The violent crime rate in Washington state is 376 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. Overall, they're ranked 8th in the nation. Number 8, Missouri. Missouri, they deserve to be on this list. When you're rocking two cities like Kansas City and St. Louis, you sort of deserve to be on this list. And on top of that, they've got some other real gems, like Springfield, Joplin, and Columbia. If you talk to anyone from Illinois, they'd like to give East St. Louis to Missouri, since it's already got most of St. Louis. And if it was, I'm sure Missouri would go further up the list. East St. Louis, which is in Illinois, is a nightmare. Little strange fact about Missouri crime, the most frequent crime in the state is destruction, damage, or vandalism of property. Followed right behind that with simple assault. Simple assault? Is that when someone that struggles with reading and math assaults you? I went to school with a guy that was held back a grade like 3 different times. They said he was just simple. I actually think he had his driver's license in 8th grade. One Kansas City man is on the hook because he confessed to killing his hospitalized wife because he couldn't afford to care for her and cover her medical bills. I think the strangest thing that's come out of Missouri didn't actually happen in Missouri, but a Missouri man crashed his rental truck into the White House barriers, jumped out, and he had a Nazi flag with him. He rented the truck in Missouri and drove it all the way to Washington, D.C. The violent crime rate in Missouri is 488 for every 100,000 residents. When ranking all 50 states, Missouri came in at 35. Number 7, California. You know, California's got some gems like Oakland, Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Bernardino, Fresno, Stockton, Sacramento. They've all got their fair share of crime. It's like when they're handing out crime rate, those cities went back for seconds. Everyone gets involved in crime in California. An ex-California guard is accused of smuggling weapons, phones, Patron tequila into the prison for cash. That was only 6 days ago. Crime is so bad in Oakland. In-N-Out, who has never closed a location until now, left Oakland. They said it was the crime. The violent crime rate in California is 499 for every 100,000 residents. When ranking all 50 states, California comes in at 37. You know, at one point they were ranked number 1 in the country. That was back when all you ever heard about on the news or saw any pictures of California, it was movies being made, movie stars, or a girl in a bikini. Now whenever you see pictures of California, you just see homeless and traffic. Number 6, Colorado. Yep, the Mile High State comes in at number 6. And stop typing. It's actually the Centennial State. Denver, however, is the Mile High City. Who was leaving the comment? Come on. What happens normally when I do one of those? People just put the video on pause and they start typing out their angry comment. And then they come back and they find out that I was joking. They have to go back and delete it. All right, who deleted the comment? Let me know in the comment section below. Colorado's got some problems. A lot of it has to do with what's going on in Denver. Denver is a beautiful city. I really like Denver, but it's become a bit of a nightmare like a lot of other cities these days. Is it Detroit or Chicago bad? No, but it's bad. They have a strange amount of homeless for such a cold place too. That just blows me away. Normally, when you have a really cold climate, you know, during the winter there, it gets terribly cold, you don't have a lot of homeless. I mean, think about it. If you're living on the streets and in a tent, living in a place like San Diego where the weather is 75 degrees and pleasant 11 months out of the year, versus the zipper on my tent is frozen in Denver, you're going to find your way to San Diego. At least the smart people do. That being said, they just had a study that came out in February of 2024, and they said that the crime has dropped in Denver, but it's still higher than it was back in 2014. 10 years ago. Matter of fact, residents in the Baker neighborhood are fed up with the crime after a recent shooting. And they're doing what a lot of neighborhoods will do when things like this are happening. They're demanding the city does something about it. Will the city? We'll find out. The violent crime rate in Colorado is 501 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. Overall, Colorado is ranked 16th in the nation. Number 5, Tennessee. You know where all the violent crime is happening in Tennessee? Yeah, Memphis. Memphis is the most dangerous city in the United States right now. Nashville's not perfect, but it is minor league violence compared to what's going on in Memphis. Memphis has got a lot of history and it's a beautiful city right there on the Mississippi River. It's just a shame what's going on there. And you feel for the residents because you know 90% of the people living in this city are just going to work and living their life. And that 10% is working overtime in Memphis. It's bringing the whole state down. Puts them at number 5 on this list. One juvenile went on a crime spree. First of all, he stole a Dodge Challenger from in front of a business and took off. He was later seen smashing the window of a truck, stealing something out of there, including a handgun and $400. A few minutes later, the police get a report that there's been an accident between a Volkswagen and a Dodge Challenger. They go there, and yes, there was an accident and a man with 2 bullets in his leg. So I guess during this accident, another man pulled up to see what happened in a Lexus. And he sees the driver of the Dodge Challenger walk over to the Challenger, pull out a gun and some money, and jump in his car and take off. So now this guy's stolen a car, been in an accident, shot someone, and now he's taken another car. Now every car in Memphis has things like that were in the Lexus. So now the kid has another gun, which was a Glock 17 and a bulletproof vest. I don't know what the guy in the Lexus had that stuff for. He wasn't a cop. When they checked in the Dodge Charger that had been in the accident, they found a whole bunch of stolen credit cards. This guy was banging on all cylinders at this point. They eventually caught up with the 19-year-old man. He's looking at some time. The violent crime rate in Tennessee is 622 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. Overall, Tennessee is ranked 27th in the nation. Number 4, Louisiana. Yeah, if you didn't know there was crime going on in Louisiana, you haven't been paying attention. New Orleans got a lot of violent crime. Shreveport has a lot of violent crime. Alexandria has a lot of violent crime. Baton Rouge is one of the most dangerous state capitals in the country. Lafayette is no treat. You know, you'd like to be able to blame it on one city in the state, but not Louisiana. They spread it around, and they got more than enough for everyone. When I was in Louisiana a year ago, January, I saw a guy pass out on the cement on Bourbon Street. Just everyone all around, walking, stepping over him. And he was, normal guy. He wasn't homeless or anything like that. He just passed out on the sidewalk. And I see these younger gentlemen come over, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? What are they going to do to this guy? So I'm kind of watching. No, they picked him up and moved him out of the way so people wouldn't step on him. They kind of put him in this doorway, made sure he was okay, and they went about their business. They asked him if he was all right. He wasn't responding, and they just left him there. Damn decent of them. Yeah, if you ever go visit Baton Rouge, make sure you know where you're going. It is a historical city, and it's got a lot of beautiful things to see. It's got some really scary neighborhoods. The violent crime rate in Louisiana is 629 for every 100,000 residents. Overall, Louisiana is ranked the 50th state in the union, meaning it is the absolute worst. Number 3, Arkansas. Yep, Arkansas is another place that's got a couple really scary cities. Little Rock and Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff every once in a while shows up on lists for the most violent city in the United States, and Little Rock is no slouch. Years ago, I'm talking like the early 90s, they did this documentary on banging in Little Rock about the gangs in Little Rock. It was ridiculous. I just got a kick out of it because you had all this gang talk with a with a southern slang to it. It wasn't even southern slang, it was like hillbilly slang. I'll bust one of them there caps in his ass. I think one of the best crimes I'd seen in Arkansas was a few years back. A guy had been trying to meet up with a guy's 14 or 15-year-old daughter. He was 25. Well, the dad got wind of this and invited him over. Well, the girl did, supposedly, but it was the dad. The guy got to the house and caught a beating. Sadly, the dad got arrested too because it's like they lured him in with the intent of giving him a beating. The violent crime rate in Arkansas is 645 for every 100,000 residents. Overall, Arkansas is ranked as the 47th state, meaning they're 3 from the bottom. Number 2, Alaska. Alaska's, it's a bit of a nightmare. It's a beautiful, beautiful state, but when it comes to crime and poverty, it's got a lot of both. And especially when you get around the Anchorage area. Anchorage has a lot of crime, and you'd think it wouldn't because it's so far away and it's out there in the wilderness, and, I don't know, you just never get the feeling that's what's going to be happening there. Well, they have a lot of drug and alcohol problems up in Alaska, and it's not just in the big cities. There are little small towns and villages all around Alaska has a lot of problems. I was on a cruise and I talked to one of the local girls. She was working as a cross guard there, and I was filming, she started asking about the camera. Anyway, she'd brought up the fact that she's trying to move down to, Washington or Oregon to become a police officer. She doesn't want to do it in Alaska. And I said, what's life like here in Alaska? She goes, well, everyone tries to leave when they turn 18, so that should tell you something. She said it's especially bad if you're a girl. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but the rate of young ladies or any ladies getting assaulted in the worst way possible is extremely high in Alaska. And she had said, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen to you, it's more like a when is it going to happen to you here. I thought that was a little upsetting. Now, obviously, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but not much of one. Alaska's violent crime rate is 759 for every 100,000 residents. Overall, Alaska is ranked as the 45th state. All right, before we get to number 1, I have a question. If you could retire to a small town, is it a river town, a mountain town, a beach town, a desert town, New England town, prison colony, whatever? Let me know in the comment section below. It helps out with a future video. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, New Mexico. New Mexico has a host of problems. They've had a bunch of problems for a long time. Most of it has to do with drugs and budget issues. It doesn't help that they're always either number 1 or 2 when it comes to the highest poverty rate in the United States. Right now, they're number 2. And if you don't already know, poverty usually goes hand in hand with a high crime rate, both property and violent crime. I actually did a video 4 years ago about how dangerous Albuquerque was. The local news station reached out to me. The reporter who contacted me, we're still friends on Instagram. She's not a reporter anymore. The violent crime rate in New Mexico is 780 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. And overall, they are considered the second to last worst state in the union. They're ranked 49th. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.